Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm George Connelly with Scratch Golf Tips, and today we're going to be talking about the 30 to 50 yard pitch shot. Now this is a very difficult shot, but one that is very important to have in the bag for a number of reasons. Obviously, if you're playing a long par 5 and you hit it to about 50 yards short of the green, this is a great way to be able to secure that birdie. Also scrambling on par 4s, maybe hit a bad shot on a par 3. However you get there, a lot of golfers hit this 30 to 50 yard shot frequently throughout a round, so it's very, very important to have it dialed in. So let's talk about 3 ways that we can do so. Before we get into the 3 methods, just wanted to remind you real quick, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like rating down below. That helps YouTube show this video to more people. And if you want to see more content like this from the Scratch Golf Tips YouTube channel, feel free to subscribe. Now the first thing I want to talk about with the 30 to 50 yard pitch shot is the stance. This is a big issue for a lot of people. A lot of people step up to the 50 yard shot like they would a 150 yard shot, and that's with a pretty standard stance. Maybe you're hitting an 8 iron or a 7 iron from 150 and your legs are about shoulder width apart, and that's just too far apart. That's creating too stable base. You might get too low to the ball in that stance. I want to see those feet inside of shoulder length. You want to have a nice narrow stance, which is it's not going to restrict you, because with a 50 yard shot you're not having this huge full swing. It's just going to keep you grounded and controlled and stable in that base. If you often hit the ball far over the green, this is actually going to help you, as it may restrict that motion a little bit. It'll keep you more compact as you would with a chipping motion. Now, some people chip with their feet very close together, and that's a chip. We're talking about a pitch shot. Chips are usually just little shots right around the green. A pitch shot is a little bit longer, but if you think about it, if your feet are shoulder width apart from 150 yards out, and then they're real close together from 10 to 20 yards out, then we want somewhere in between that for 50 yards out, and that's what we're gonna do. You can obviously play around with this. There's no right answer, but I do not want to see those feet really wide with your stance. Next, let's talk about swing length. Generally, if you're hitting a 50 yard shot, you're not going to be swinging a full club unless you have a 64 degree in the bag or something crazy like that. Say you're hitting a 56 or 58 degree, you're gonna have to saw that off. And what I mean by that is, instead of coming all the way here and coming all the way through the ball, we're gonna wanna stop the arms. Maybe it's shoulder length, maybe it's hip length, depending on the club you want. But whatever you're doing with that swing length, you should have it be the same coming through the ball. So if you're going up to shoulder length here, swinging through the ball, I don't want you finishing low down here, and I don't want you finishing way up here. Finish right around shoulder length. Now, it doesn't have to be an exact pendulum. What happens more often than not is if you come back here, you're gonna wanna finish a little bit higher, because that's gonna promote acceleration through impact, which is the 3rd tip. We'll get to that in a second. But we don't wanna be swinging this full swing. This, like any swing implementation in golf, will take time. So what I would recommend is, if you're at a driving range and there's a 50 yard flag, go through a couple of clubs and see whichever one you feel comfortable with. Some people love hitting a fairly full 60 degree. Some people like hitting a little chippy pitching wedge in there. I personally hit a 58 degree, and I'll saw it off right around the shoulder, and then I'll come through and cut it right at my other shoulder. That's what I like to do. I like to get a little bit of height on these 50 yard shots. Some people don't. So like anything, experiment with it, see what works, see what feels comfortable for you, and most importantly, see what's repeatable to getting that 50 yard distance. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, let's talk about accelerating through impact. Now, with a driver, you can always accelerate through impact because you're coming so far back and you just want to crush the ball and you come right through the ball. Big acceleration through impact. When we're talking about a 50 yard shot, it's almost mentally counterintuitive to swing fully through that ball and to really accelerate through impact. But when that doesn't happen, a lot goes wrong. As we know, with irons, with wedges, if we're not accelerating through impact, you're likely going to really reduce the consistency in which you strike the ball. You're going to be chunking the ball a little bit more often. You might thin the ball, and thinning the ball from 50 yards out can be really detrimental to your scoring. If you're 50 yards out, you thin the ball 80 yards, you're going to go over the green. If you're going over the green by, more than 10 yards, there's a bunch of, hazards, water, bunkers, penalties, there's all kinds of stuff that can go wrong if you're over. So we want to reduce thinning the ball, we want to reduce chunking the ball as much as possible. So be sure to accelerate through impact. So those are my 3 tips to master the 50 yard golf shot. I'd love to hear what you think, what works for you, what hasn't worked for you. Also, let me know if you're faced with a 50 yard golf shot, what club do you hit, what trajectory, how far back do you swing? I'd love to know all that and more in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching. Play well, and take care.